Cannabis, weed, skunk. Call it what you will. For many people, it's a common sight at music festivals, house parties, and frankly, your local town centre. It's the most commonly used illegal drug in Britain, and last year in England and Wales alone, over 2 million people admitted taking it. Even though being caught could land you in prison. But all over the world, attitudes to cannabis are changing. These countries have decriminalised the drug, meaning if you're caught with a small amount of weed, you're not going to jail. Some have gone further and legalised it. And if you want to see things changing at pace, look at North America. In the US, 21 states have decriminalised small amounts of cannabis for personal consumption, and 8 have gone further, legalising recreational use. But the place that many are watching is Canada, with the country set to legalise the drug next year. So with all this happening around the world, some in the UK are asking, cannabis, time for a change? I'm in Brighton to meet Rob.
Hi, Rob. How you doing?
He's the chair of the Brighton Cannabis Club and thinks the answer to that question is yes.
So basically, we're visiting a venue that will offer a fully medicated meal to Brighton Cannabis Club members.
And you say fully medicated, that means there's loads of weed in the meal?
Yes, it's cannabis infused, so it will get you high if you consume it.
So this meal's all about taking lots of cannabis, basically.
Yeah.
Lots of people today, it's a rainy, drizzly day on the seaside, lots of people just go to the pub at lunchtime. Why not just have a pint like everyone else? Why does it have to be cannabis?
For us, we consider cannabis the less harmful alternative to basically smoking tobacco or drinking alcohol, and that isn't for everyone.
So where exactly are we going? Because we are just wandering the streets a little bit at the minute.
I can't tell you the exact location. What it is, it's a restaurant in Brighton that will allow you 24 hours in advance to book in a fully medicated menu if you are a Brighton Cannabis Club member.
Right. That makes it sound quite dodgy.
Unfortunately, that's just due to legality, and that's why it's only available for Brighton Cannabis Club members.
So in the kitchen here, a couple of chefs have been hard at work all morning knocking up some food. Just taking a look over there now. It looks pretty impressive, to be honest. And I'll be honest, it's not the kind of food you'd expect in a sort of cafe that you might get in Amsterdam or somewhere like that. It's not brownies and space cake or anything like this. It's pretty high-end food. And I've actually been chatting to the chef who's behind it, and he's worked in some really top restaurants. And before you get the wrong end of the stick, this is not what they're going to be putting in all the food. This green stuff here is actually genuinely a dressing for it. The food is going to be infused with an oil that goes through it, and that's where the cannabis will be. So Rob, what's for starters today then?
So it'll be corn-fed chicken goujons with black garlic aioli, and for the main course we'll be having grilled sea bream fillet with purple Afghan and pea arancini.
I mean, where in there is the cannabis? Where are we finding cannabis in that one?
So you'll find it in the pea arancini. The purple Afghan will be the strain, and will be pea arancini.
It's strange, isn't it? Because we're sat here and it's quite a civilised event. You're all sat around, you've got a glass of red wine in front of you. It's quite a relaxed atmosphere. But the government would say what you're doing is illegal, and it's illegal because of the harm it can do to you and your friends and also wider society. Why do you think you should be doing this?
We believe that the information is outdated, their reports and research is all very outdated. And if you take a look at Spain, Portugal, Canada, America, they're all coming through with progressive forward-thinking policies that are basically providing more of a positive impact and utilising the cannabis culture for the positive it can do for the local community, for the industry, for medical patients, for recreational users that just want to have a social experience but not be criminalised for it.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. You represent Brighton Cannabis Club. It's blazed all over your t-shirt.
Yeah.
How popular is the club?
So far we have over 400 club members. We've been around for about 3-4 years now. We have over 40,000 Instagram followers, over 6,000 Facebook likes, and we basically keep growing. And we've had one of our outdoor events, Green Pride, which has grown year on year. So our first year we only had 100 people turn up to it. Our second year 1,000, our third year 1,500 in about 8 different stalls. And this year we hit over 3,000 people attending and about 25 different stalls setting up for the day, and with basically limited police interruption.
That might be Rob's experience in Brighton, but I want to get a sense of the national picture from Greg, chair of the UK Cannabis Social Clubs.
Generally, we've got a movement that's built up now. 6 years ago when we started in 2011, we didn't have any clubs in the country. People were just growing their own and consuming their own, and if they got busted, they got busted. But what we've done now is we put out a model, and there are over 100 clubs 6 years later working towards that model to try and say this is how we can integrate into the rest of society. We are a self-regulated model that has shown over the years to be successful by the growth that we've seen.
The meal that you've all been eating today looks pretty fancy, but is it really not the case that it's just 5 or 6 guys sitting around the table getting stoned?
Well, I wouldn't say we're just sitting around the table getting stoned. Cannabis is just the thing that's brought us together. We are just socialising, just in the same way as people go, at lunchtime, it's like, oh, let's go and have a beer.
Is the idea of this sort of thing, with all this fancy food knocking around and this kind of environment, to try and take people away from the idea of what a cannabis club would be? Because I think a lot of people would think it's a smoky club in Amsterdam or something like that.
We're definitely trying to normalise cannabis use, and to be open about it is really important. It does normalise it, and it does gradually change minds in society. We're not asking people to suddenly go, all right, yeah, we accept it now. We're saying, like, listen to what we've got to say. We're not the demon people that you might once thought we were.
The thing about spending time with Rob, Greg, the guys down at the meal was what they were doing in that environment feels quite normal in that setting. But what you've got to remember is what they were doing was actually illegal. And frankly, they could have all been arrested for doing just that. But that's the question, isn't it? We're asking, should weed, cannabis, call it what you want, be illegal? The chances of the guys down there getting arrested today were probably quite slim. But had they done that in a country with much stricter drug laws, they probably would be.